Can you give us a little synopsis of your department, what you got plans, and
Okay. My
some of
name is
your
Teresa
ideas?
Wonis, and for
Thank you.
anyone that doesn't know me, and thank you, Councilman. I am the chairperson of the Civil Service Board. I also am a former councilwoman, served 4 terms, and I worked in the Comptroller's office for 10 years. So I'm just going to go through
what page was that again, Teresa?
page 35. So salaries are basic, postage, office supplies, printing, we print envelopes, employee cards, position cards, roster cards. We send out some printing, we do a lot, so that is the $500 for that. In the contracted services, we lease our copying machine. We have to pay for public hearings all the time in the newspapers, whether it be the Rome, the Utica. We also get charged for resolutions. There is a new program coming through the state. It's called the HELPS program. So we will have to be advertising in the newspaper, and sometimes those bills can run up to $100. So that is your contracted services. Our service fees, which is 1430 line 476, that is actually on the low end, and here is why. We need monitors for all our tests. This past year, we gave 47 tests. So according to New York State Civil Service, say we give the police test and we have 100 candidates. If 5 people come and say they want special accommodations, we have to hire 1 monitor for every person taking that test in a special room. If somebody says, I need it read to me, we have to accommodate them, hire a person at $130 in that room. The second person says, I need a room all by myself, I can't take it. So according to New York State Civil Service, we have to accommodate all these special accommodations. And so sometimes monitors, we can be hiring in one day 10, 12, 14 at $130 a person. So that's an actually low end of the service fees, because I think we're over budget as we speak on that. Any questions?
Yeah, we're going to go right around the
Okay.
ring. We'll start with Katie.
My only question, you kind of touched on it with the contracted services. So you lease the printer machine, right?
Correct.
Is that going up, or is that, I saw that. line
It goes
went
up every year.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's
In general, it seemed. Yeah, I was,
like everything else.
yeah, that was basically, I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good, but thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm all set too. I just wanted to say thanks for coming in and explaining each line item. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Thank you.
I'm all set.
Thank you.
So you had mentioned that you have to hire additional monitors, correct?
Correct.
Do you think you have enough in there right now to cover it, or?
Probably not. No,
And
we
what
don't.
would you have in there again?
We have $10,000. We went through $16,000 last year. It all depends. Like, we just gave a fire test. 100 people signed up. We have to have monitors for 100, but only 80 showed. But if they signed up and they paid, we have to have certain monitors for 100.
And how many tests you think you're going to have this year?
Well, last year in 2023, we gave 47 tests.
Mhm.
Sometimes if there's only 1 or 2, we can do 3 or 4 on a Saturday. If we're giving a police exam, we can't. We're giving a fire exam, we can't. We also do exams for school and MHA.
Okay.
And we gave 47 last year at
Okay.
130.
Do you see that many again this year? Or?
Yes, usually with fire and police. And they dictate, Albany dictates to us when they give the test.
Okay.
So they can turn around right now and say, okay, well, we're giving your test in September. We can't say, let's stretch it out for a budget year.
Mhm.
They dictate when their tests are
Okay.
given.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Any more questions before we?
Rocco?
No, I just want to say North Utica Little League Field was the best.
Okay, so
Your council.
before I leave, and the other 2 aren't here.
It was.
I was a
Yeah.
6th Ward councilwoman. I worked with Rocco. Rocco also worked with Samantha and Joe. State right now who your favorite council person was.
Ms. Monas.
Okay.
Ms. Monas.
I knew the budget director, that's why our
gave me the
Little
best
League looks so
advice.
good. Oh, I do want to pitch one more thing. These are supposed to be working meetings. I'm just butting my business in. So you guys, in my opinion, you're having a meeting around here, which is almost like a council meeting. Would it be better if you sat around the table with the department head or the mayor and you're going back and forth? Just an idea, because we would have our meetings in caucus.
Can I partially answer that?
Yes.
So, and this will be supported by my office. During COVID, when we had to start streaming all the meetings, we had to standardize on equipment that's fixed in here. So once we add equipment to the other room, the council may be able to join the caucus room again like you used to, and it will also be
Yeah.
streamed. Right now, we're locked in here.
It's just more of an easier work
Of course.
environment.
Yeah, and we recognize that as well, even when I was council president. But if we
Yeah.
go in that room, we can't stream.
So thank you. I appreciate the 6th Ward council person being here and supporting me.
She is, yes, there he is, yeah.
Joe, hang on, Trace, hang on. Joe, did you have any questions for Tracy?
I talk to her daily, so I'm.
And Joe, who was your favorite council person?
Samantha?
I plead the fifth.
Okay, there you go, Trace.
I plead the fifth. So.
All right.
Everybody, I got hung up at a week. I had to be.
We're gonna give Teresa 30 more seconds. Then we'll ask her to leave.
I beat the 7 minutes, by the way.
Thank you very much.
3 minutes.
Should we do it
That's-
No, I think the big dog over there would like to get
I
up.
would
and-
like to go.
All right, so the next in line is our Honorable Mayor Galimi.
Thank you.
Please give us a little speech, whatever you do, and then we'll start asking questions.
All right.
Just don't pull out your trumpet.
Oh, no, you're fine, you're fine. No, we put together a mayor's budget this year for the department that included staffing that hasn't been around in a while. We have a chief of staff now who's been invaluable over the last 2 months. And we've also included budget lines that are already being utilized in principle this year, even though next year we'll be using them, you know.
For everybody's sake, what page you're working off of?
Oh, I'm sorry, page 21.
21.
Page 21, and then in the table of organization, it's like the first page, I believe, second one down. So just to start, what I want to note is the E&A approved salary line for the department is $282,000 and 287, or I'm sorry, $282,287. That is only, or it's actually 44,000 more than fiscal year 23, and somehow 24,000, almost 25,000 more than fiscal year 2022. So it's actually pretty level going back even to 22 and 23. You know, going down the lines, your office equipment, those types of things are just kind of typical. It's your paper and supplies. Things you might see jump out are education and training. Rather than that going to specific employees like it had in the past, I did a lot for $2,500 in the education and training so that myself, potentially the chief of staff, or the executive assistant, the mayor's secretary, if we need any type of professional development training, which I anticipate we will be doing, I wanted to put that in there. Travel is allotted for. We didn't have travel before because the mayor's office did not go to different events that I believe were required. In January, first week of February, the chief of staff and myself went to the New York Conference of Mayors, for example. It was the first time in 12 years the city of Utica was represented at the New York Conference of Mayors. It allowed us to take part in many different sessions that were not only administered by NICOM, but we sat with all of the mayors in upstate and downstate and had open discussions. One of the things that we did accomplish is we talked about our state aid. Okay, our state aid has been fixed now at $16.1 million in Utica for 18 years. You know, a result of us going to NICOM is that I've now signed a letter with the upstate mayors to ask not only the governor to approve if it's in the budget as passed by, you know, our legislature, but urge all of our legislature to raise that state aid. It hasn't changed in 18 years, and it's one of our 3 major funding sources. And it's inappropriate that it hasn't been raised. The point is, this travel money will be money well spent because we now have an administration who's willing to go to Albany and advocate for what we need to do for this city. Computer supplies, that's typical. Contracted services is the same as the revised budget for 2024. I did keep that at 18.5. The reason for that is I'm going to be having the administration working with the Chamber of Commerce, for example, and documenting all of the different manufacturing firms, for example, that the city of Utica still has wholly contained within the city of Utica. We will be producing marketing documents so that when businesses want to locate here, they understand our workforce. They see that people are plentiful, not only the immigrants that have been moving here for hundreds of years, but our refugee populations that are being trained and on the floors of companies like Utica Metals, Indium, Trenton Technologies, Divine Brothers, Sturgis. Businesses want to be where businesses are successful. That's one of the many things I would like to do with that contracted services line. The gas and oil.
Can you explain the thing? I think it's a good idea.
Oh, yeah, no
I'm just-
problem.
But can you explain what are you going to produce out of that? And what your
That could be
ideas out of that?
anything from actual marketing documents that will, you know, be available to businesses, the Chamber of Commerce, the different colleges, et cetera. One of the other things I would like to use some of those dollars for is the website. We do not have a website that is commensurate with, you know, modern technology. So I am looking to assemble funds potentially out of ARPA, but I also plan on potentially having to use some of those contracted services to update that website. So I put it in my budget, you know, so that it's not wholly contained within ARPA or, you know, the IT budget. Because that's something I'd like to lead off with and truly, you know, build for the city. So, you know, these things aren't cheap. The other thing contracted services could be doing, not only working with local businesses, but also I'm looking to partner with the colleges and create a college week. You know, while it seems a bit, you know, atypical, there's a lot of things I would like to do with that 18.5, and I'd like to have a chance at truly marketing our city across the board, whether it's education, business, a college week where we can invite 5 colleges worth of families to come and have dinner and shop for their dorm rooms here in Utica, New York, before they move into those dorm rooms. There's a whole host of things I'd like to do with that, but that's why I put that in there. So, a lot of stuff.
Keep going.
All right, so gas and oil. One of the things I did when I came in was turn over the mayor's car. It was a police interceptor, and I relinquished that to the police department so they could make it part of the CID unit, and a former CID car could be outfitted for uniform division. I'm driving my own vehicle. And what I'm doing is charging for mileage. So if I go to Albany, I charge for mileage, rather than having the city pay for insurance, maintenance, gas, and a vehicle for me. I feel that the mayor should be compensated for using a vehicle, whether it's the mayor's vehicle or a different vehicle that the city may own, because there is so much driving involved with being the mayor. But at the same time, when I leave here and I'm going shopping or going up north with my kids, I want that vehicle to be mine and not the city's. So I'm just restructuring how that goes. But on top of that, I'm reducing the cost of the office, which was kind of hidden. I'm not taking a car. So gas and oil is up a little because we're gonna be charging for mileage when I have to go to Albany or anywhere else.
But you got an electric car, right?
I do.
So you're gonna charge an electrical car rate or is it a gas car rate?
Well, that's not how it works. You use per diem at 65 cents a mile. But yeah, I am charging it here. Or no, I charge it at home. I don't even charge the car at City Hall. So, you know, they did ask me though. They're like, "Do you want a plug to charge the car?" I'm like, "No, it's fine. I don't need to use the city's electricity for my car." But so that's why that's modified. The miscellaneous is truly miscellaneous, postage and random subscriptions and whatnot, that does always get used, although I'm auditing what we currently use the $22 for. I'm not sure yet. And then it's in the budget.
We're very
And then-
concerned.
Yeah, and then Social Security is, you know, that's standard. But let's flip over to the salary page. And there's one thing I want to note on this. What you see is, I think it's page 1 of the table of organization. Usually there's a 50% chargeback to URA for the developmental administrator. That's Paul Buckley, okay? That 50% chargeback to the urban renewal agency was utilized for, you know, doing walkthroughs, videos, and documentations of demolitions, houses we may have for sale, properties to market. Because of the issue that URA is in, where there's a Supreme Court case ruling keeping us from using the funds, I took more of the salary of that into the mayor's budget. So we're only charging a 33% charge back to URA, even though he's still doing those tasks. So that did add a little more. You'll see, you know, the charge back last year in the current budget year is 31,000. We're only charging back 22,770 to URA because they just, money is tighter in that department because of what the Supreme Court case ruling has done that we are working on figuring out. So that's the end of my spiel. If you have any questions.
We're gonna go around. I'm gonna start with Katie and go all the way around.
All right.
I've had a lot of my questions answered so far, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yield the floor.
Yeah, I got a question. Who's replacing Tracy? She was a sweetheart. She was great to work with.
So can I say it publicly? Yeah, I guess she's hired. Becky Duvall, who was the yeah, I stole Becky from the police department.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
We're out.
You guys stole her from DPW though.
Yeah, right. So she is currently cross training with Tracy. So April 1st, she will be in the position. So she's taking that on. Now, she will be fulfilling, I mean, I call it an executive assistant role. The secretary of the mayor is what the actual title is. That role, what she will be doing on top of that still will be some of the FOIL requests, all the redacting. Tracy is training her on that right now. And the ATV hearings, those types of things, I'm actually moving back into the legal department. But it's Becky.
Very good, thank you. And if you ever want to come over to West Utica and need a ride, I'll give you a ride.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Hey, Mayor, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Could we talk a bit more about that AIM, that AIM state aid? That's at
Yeah.
16.1, right? Million.
Yeah.
So there are certain criteria that the state looks at or looked at when providing a municipality or a city that dollar figure, right? Is that how
yeah.
that? Okay. So
I mean, it hasn't been readdressed for 18 years.
yeah.
Right.
So just thinking about the letter that you signed, which other similar cities, mayors of those cities, also signed
Oh my God,
requesting?
it's like I think it was over 70.
It's pretty much every.
Yeah, I mean, we all sat
Like-
together.
No,
and
it was
ran-
like, yeah, I'll get it. I'll pull up.
Yeah,
And the reason I ask, I mean, do you think it would be beneficial for the council to perhaps draft up
Absolutely.
a resolution showing unity of the administration along with
Mhm.
the council to submit to the relevant
Yes.
state representatives?
so, part of my budget address has some of the metrics. I'm putting together, it'll be kind of a technical resolution, because I'd like us to put some, meat in it in the form of charts. I've done a lot of actuarial analysis that compares our salary lines over the last 18 years, the city expenses over the last 18 years, the fact that our city has taken many monies from the state to invest as economic development dollars, and we've truly done a good job with that, which in turn has caused our sales tax to grow, right? Now, granted, inflation also caused our sales tax to grow, but we've kind of, as a city, done all the right things, right? In 2012, the previous administration and the Common Council had to make a lot of hard decisions on things to cut, to reduce the overall level of cost the city has to deal with. But 4 years into cutting, your expenses are right back where they were. The thing that has never been addressed by the state in 18 years is that, I think, what is it, assistance and incentives for municipalities. I think that's what it stands for. Although I don't think it's assistance. I feel like it's a different word than an A. In any case, the point is, absolutely, and I will be sending a resolution down, because I would love for the council to do that.
So, 370 mayors and, well, 368 mayors
Yes.
and 2 city managers.
Yeah.
And
The whole
also,
city.
and actually NICOM provided a sample resolution
Okay.
that we can pass through.
I also can send you, it's called Aim Higher. The
Mhm.
city of Syracuse, who has like a completely stacked city hall, like has someone on staff to just sit around and do financial analysis all day for the whole city. They put together an actual report. I was going to assemble myself a white paper as well, but no, I'll be sending down information for a resolution that you guys can compile.
Do you also think it may be helpful that we as a legislative body perhaps send, our final resolution to the other cities on the list that Mr. Gentile noted? I
Yeah,
mean, do you think that's,
definitely.
okay.
Mhm.
I mean, for anyone listening, I mean, we're on page 16 here. The general purpose state aid is over $16 million. So when we talk about revenue and different things like that, this, in my opinion at least, may be one of the best opportunities to
Mhm.
increase that through that state aid. So thank you.
Right, and that's the thing, there's only so much we can do within the city. I feel that we're having to ask the taxpayers again to raise revenue in the form of a tax rise, right? I do think we need to investigate and effectually act on a reval as well, so that the state doesn't come after us for having such a low equalization rate, because they're gonna end up forcing us to reval at some point. But we need to, and that's why I ran for mayor, right? We need to do all the things that will put us on par with the rest of the cities. So when Albany looks at us, we don't look cheap, we don't look inexpensive, because it makes a difference.
And speaking to that state aid, just so we can get a timeline to the extent is this something that the state may be considering in this
They're
upcoming
considering a
budget season?
15% increase.
For this
For
fiscal
this fiscal
coming up?
year, let's not get our hopes up.
Yeah.
If you inflation adjust the AIM funding going back 18 years, $16.1 million now, if you inflation adjust it over time. Not that everything should be inflation adjusted, but you're talking over like $30 million. If we simply had that adjusted to $22 million, we would be paying for all of our operational expenses and our standard operational capital projects like paving out of the general fund again. I bought my first house in Utica in 2004. Between 2004 and 2016, when I had moved up a couple blocks, my taxes had more than doubled over that time. We're now sitting here again in a situation where sales tax is now plateauing, state aid is fixed. Yes, I have a lot of plans to create revenue, within the city, but that's gonna take time. So unfortunately, we're burning cash out of our fund balance and having to ask the taxpayers for a tax rise. That's the message to Albany. We need that aim adjustment.
And just a bit of a pivot, you mentioned Mr. Buckley.
Yes.
My understanding is that is a position that you specifically appoint for that role. Is that right per the charter?
In the same situation as the chief of staff, yeah, it's an appointed position.
Is that department, let's say, is that, in your opinion, adequately funded at this time, or are there
Oh, yeah,
areas to improve?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So he has the resources he needs. I did, because it's been a long time, I did adjust his salary, in part because he is doing an incredible amount of work, more so than prior, because we now have a municipal film commission. He's an Empire State Development listed film commissioner now, which is great for the city. He spent the better part of December and January working what waged union employees would consider overtime, but a salaried worker doesn't get overtime. So the amount of work he's been doing has gone up considerably. So, that's adequately funded, absolutely. But I believe more so now than ever, a very necessary position, because it's actually creating a lot of economic development in the area, like genuine.
Thanks, Mayor, for coming in and explaining. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Frank Lawson.
Thank you.
How you doing, Mayor?
Doing all right.
Good. I got a couple more, actually two things. The first thing on the gasoline and oil. That $4,000 is basically like a car sales sucker. You're using, because you're saying you're using the mileage money to get reimbursed, but that money, because that's a car allowance, that's very cheap. It's very commendable that you're using your own vehicle, and I think that's a low number for that. I just wanted to verify that. That's not for, and I know you have an electric car, but you also have, I'm sure your other car is a gas car that you may use certain times.
Yeah, anyway, I mean,
Right.
you're paying for it regardless, right? But it's the mileage, right? So I'm gonna charge mileage.
Right, but that $4,000 has nothing to do with the mileage. Because when you charge, you're gonna turn mileage in from the government, and you're gonna get reimbursed from that. That's what
Well, yeah, but we're the government in this sense, right? So like, that's the line,
Okay.
gas and oil.
So, okay.
Yeah,
And then-
I mean, that's where I put it. I don't necessarily agree with that line name for that, gas and oil. That's like
Right, basically-
heating oil and whatnot,
Right,
but,
that's a low number.
yeah. And I know it's a low number,
Right.
but I'd like to try and manage that expense. Now granted, if I have to drive 7,000 miles for the actual business of the city, I'm gonna charge the mileage for that entire 7,000 miles, but, that's.
Okay, so the next question I'm gonna ask is gonna be on page 5. And I haven't had a chance to get with you and come up and talk to you, so I'll ask you about this now. So the first thing I'm looking at is, line 403, number 1101, the city tax,
Yeah,
city sales tax.
right.
Okay, so and just, if I'm reading this wrong, you let me know. So in our budget, okay, the 23 budget,
Right.
okay, it said we were supposed to get 18 million four, okay? So with 3 quarters in, because the actual, we still don't have our 4th quarter, we're only at 10,000,007, okay? So do you foresee, I know the 4th quarter's.
No, I think we'll come in level with what we budgeted.
Okay.
That doesn't come in a linear fashion, by any means.
So that 10.7 though, isn't that just for the first 3 periods?
Right, that's my point. So we anticipate hopefully receiving roughly the 18.85 that was put in the budget.
Okay, so the
But if we
last-
don't, I mean, that's not good.
No, well, my next question is, because I'm looking at 10 million for 3 quarters, so, I mean, that's basically a little bit over 3.5, I know the fourth quarter is always the highest for Christmas, the holidays and all that stuff. So my next question to you is, I see that we're either gonna be a little short or on par. I see you raised it, okay, all right, and, which I know we have a ton of stuff going on,
Right.
but I don't believe, and, you know, I understand why you did that, that's good,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't believe we should ever raise it any more than that. I mean, what is your view on that, thinking that?
I talked to the county. I looked at neighboring municipalities, what their projections were, and around 5% was what I thought it should be, and that was.
That's what that number is.
And yeah, I don't think it's exactly 5, but yeah, exactly.
Right, okay. All right, I just got scared when I see we want to hit.
Well, so here's the thing.
And we only got 11.
We don't know.
Right.
You know, but the other thing is inflation drives sales tax to go up, right? And inflation is, quote, coming down. That's an accelerator. Prices are still going up. If the inflation rate is still above 0, prices are still increasing, right? Which means that overall, if everything stays the same and people buy the same amount of goods, sales tax is still gonna go up just purely based on the fact that prices are still going up.
Okay. Good. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Well said, Joe.
Yep.
Mark?
First of all, it's the first time in 10 years I've been in the council that the mayor's come down and talked about anything on this budget. So I want to thank you on that.
Thank you.
Other than that, I have nothing.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming again. And I got Katie's got another
Yeah,
question.
that was one earlier. Did you say it was 15% we're looking to get extra from AIM? Is that what that's on the
That was
docket?
what was discussed at NICOM. I cannot predict what
Right.
the state is going to do or not.
Do we think it'll change this year?
I
or
mean,
have they
this,
been-
I would say this is the biggest push I've seen in a long time. We're coming up on 2 decades of no adjustment, so I'm hoping
It's
it will.
nowhere addressed in the current budget.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's-
So
It's,
Yeah.
it's a push.
we can't plan on it.
Every legislator, assembly person, senator will say that they're behind us, but ultimately it's not something in the governor's
But
budget.
like, I literally have like a personal mission to get it adjusted because I think it's so absolutely inappropriate. So regardless of what happens this legislative session and this state budget, I'm going to be creating some very compelling arguments to get it adjusted. The other thing I'm going to do is we continually look at readdressing things and recalculating formulas and doing all these things based on census tract data. If you look at the city, the last time we dealt with state aid and it was adjusted in, I can't remember the year now, it was around 18 years ago. We had less people. We had less services that people needed. So I requested from the state assembly the formula. Because even if the overall package doesn't get changed, I want to advocate to have our formula recalculated because maybe even within the scope of what's currently allotted, we're not getting what we should have. So I'm looking at it from like a bunch of different angles.
Thank you. I'm all set.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, well, once again, thank you for
Thank you.
having us, and thank you for having us for 2 hours yesterday.
Yeah, if you have any more questions, you know.
We
schedule
got a
some
couple
time.
more, but
All
one of the things I was thinking about was that, I know you're new and, you know, you're going 3 months into it, but have you, I know you're a thinker, have you thought about the state of the city speech?
Yes.
What your vision is in the next, for this
Mhm.
coming year? And
Yes.
do you have any dates you're thinking about doing that, or, and we'd like to see, before you did that, maybe do something with the council here as well.
So I don't necessarily have a date, but I want to get through like that first 100 days. I wanted to make sure we could establish the relationships within the state and local governments that we needed to establish. And the other thing, before I do that, I would like to, once we get past the budget season, right?
I can't wait.
You know, exactly, no, and then just kind of like have that breather, and then, you know, I do want to meet with each council person individually and say what's going on within your district from what you perceive and the council as a whole, so we can really kind of, work together on what the next 4 years looks like. So I look forward to it.
Okay, and one other thing that I think yesterday went well. The only thing I got to question you on, and I'm trying to sort of get an answer from you, is we're going to be putting in some changes, to the budget.
Right.
And I'll see how it goes in. And you had said that no matter how many changes we did, how much it is, it's going to go totally into the general fund.
Well, that's
Is
up
it-
to you guys, like however you want to present the amendments, you know what I mean? There's a reason
But I didn't
sorry.
I didn't quite understand how
So-
you laid that out.
All right, so here's my rationale. The budget I put together, which Mike Sermonaro actually did an analysis on this budget that I put together. Because he was curious how good of a job I did, right? And he kind of, he extracted out all the standard expenses that just went up and looked at the budget I put together, level with the budgets that have been taking place the year prior or the year before that. And he called me downstairs. He said, what you did actually, technically, even though all the other prices have gone up with like healthcare and all those things, your budget is technically less than the last budget as far as like discretionary, to the tune of almost $400,000, which even I was surprised. But I kind of let the departments propose what they were proposing, and then I put myself in the council's shoes, because that's where I just was, right? And I went through and did reduce a lot of different lines. I just was left with the fact that over the last couple of years, unfortunately, we've blown through a lot of our fund balance, and expenses have grown. So I wanted to present a budget that provided a level amount of services year over year from last year to now, without reducing services. I did add in the budget 4 extra parks temporary employees. I did that because one of the biggest complaints we have is, why are all the benches covered in weeds? Why are the lawns half mowed? Why? And part of that is because we used to have 23 temporary parks employees. And we've been running with 4 for many years now. So I added 4 more. One of the other things I did was bolster the youth bureau employment a little bit. But that actually only added somewhere between $100,000 and $120,000 to the overall budget. So that was pretty minor, even though I think it will have a really great impact. Yeah, both of those, yeah.
There's 4, right?
Yeah.
2 will be.
No,
For you,
or
Bureau.
youth, right? You said-
Oh, yeah. But my point is totality, cost-wise, it didn't really add much to the budget because they're summer employees, that type of thing. Now, regarding the tax increase in the fund balance use, I never wanted to sit here appropriating the fund balance the way we have to in this budget. When I put together our expenses and whittled them down, I then had to sit down and say, what are the revenues gonna look like? And when I first sat down, I zeroed out our draw from CIT, I zeroed out our draw from fund balance, and I said, how could we balance this budget without taking any money from reserves? And it was almost a 30% tax increase. And I was like, wow, that's insane. So,
Well, it's about 26 with the.
right, that's my point, right. So I cut a bunch of stuff, reduced things like the potential money we would need to run the skating rink, right? And then I appropriated $2.2 million of fund balance and almost $1 million of CIT, which is the Capital Improvement Trust. That's the water money that we obtained. It's an account from when we originally sold Utica Waterworks to the Mohawk Valley Water Authority in 1995, I believe. My rationale on if there are cuts, having them leave the tax rise the same and reduce the amount of draw from fund balance is this. We're in different territory now because we're burning cash. Beforehand, when we would have a budget, if we had a surplus, because we weren't appropriating fund balance to balance the budget, all of that money added to the surplus, right? In this budget, we're appropriating fund balance. So to balance the budget, we're taking money out of the fund balance to actually balance the budget. So we're preloading this budget, if you will, with a $2.2 million deficit, because we have to use fund balance to do that. So what that means is, if my administration works very hard to stay on budget or under budget throughout the year, and we end up with a fund balance, it's actually only going to reduce how much we lessen our fund balance. Like, we need to dig ourselves, unfortunately, out of a hole and steer the city into a situation where when we have a surplus, it adds money to the fund balance. Right now, the way this budget is presented, if we had a $2.2 million surplus at the end of the year, our fund balance would be flat. That's what we need to do. We need a $2.2 million surplus in this next budget year, if this budget goes through, to literally break even. And you heard the fiscal, our financial auditors, Bonadio, they said at the end of '23, we were at bare minimum of fund balance. Which means at the end of this year, when I close the books of the previous administration's budget, we're gonna be below the bare minimum. And now we have to use 2.2 million to balance this budget, which puts us even further below bare minimum, which is gonna affect our bond rating. That's gonna affect how other rating agencies look at us. And I've already inquired with our financial advisors and our bond counsel about what's going to happen when this council may want to bond for paving, right, and do the 5 million this year. Or when we have to come down with a capital plan, which we're gonna have to bond for, to purchase police vehicles,
But-
to maintain our facilities. And their answer was, you're gonna get re-rated when you go borrow again. And I said, well, that's not good. How hard of a hit are we gonna take? And their answer to me was, you're showing with the budget you presented that you're doing what needs to be done to right the financial ship.
Right.
So that's why I feel so strongly about, reducing the fund balance draw rather than the tax rise.
All right, and I appreciate that, and,
I got,
but the way we're looking at, what we're looking at now is the city of Utica, 30% of the families are below the poverty level. They don't have a fund balance. And so I'm not saying take that total 16% and zero it out. I'm saying, show a little empathy and compassion to to the residents here that really can't afford, that are paying on a daily basis, hand them out. When we're looking at it and we're looking at the cuts, to see if we could bring it down a little, because any little bit would help. And I'm not saying bring it down to zero, I'm not telling you where to bring it down, but we have to show a little empathy and compassion to the people that don't have a fund balance, and I'll leave it at that, thank you.
Okay.
And I thank you for the job you have done on this, and I could see that you have worked on it. and
Thank you.
I'm not trying to take anything away from you on that.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. Mind if I, okay, so, I did put this budget together, with empathy and compassion for the city. I do recognize that a large portion of our census tract is, in a socioeconomic disadvantaged position. When it comes to, the actual rental apartments, when it comes to people who own homes, who are on fixed incomes, albeit, you get a COLA adjustment here and there, but fixed incomes. I purposefully went and looked at all the neighborhood assessments and looked at what each individual would have to take on. And in the different neighborhoods, if you're on the Parkway, yeah, you might be paying $1,000 more for the year. In my neighborhood, it's $600 to $700 more per year. In the neighborhoods that are the most disadvantaged, And I'm saying this publicly because I know some landlords are already doing this. If you're renting and you are living in a home that you're renting and your landlord is telling you right now that your rent has to go up because of a tax increase, I would like you to go to the city website and look up your address that you live and rent from. Because if that assessment, okay, is $30,000 in the house you live in, that means 30, okay, times $4.60 is how much more for the year your landlord will be paying. And if they're saying, because they have to pay $10 more a month in taxes, they want to raise your rent $100 a month, you should be empowered to tell them that that's not right. 16.5% sounds crazy. Talked to the mayor of Honey White Falls. He had to do a 33% a couple years ago and explain that to the people. But I'm really, open to the fact that I want people to call and ask what their assessments are so we can explain one-on-one how much for the whole year they'll be paying. A lot of people out there think that it's 16.5% on their whole tax bill. It's not. It's just the city portion. You look at our county taxes over the last decade, they've gone up almost 30% over the last decade. It's a Band-Aid to rip off, it's 16.5%, but I presented it because I feel like it's necessary, and if reasonable amendments are passed and come up to the office, I'm gonna look at them with the same reasonable way that I looked at putting this budget together. So I look forward to it. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Joe, you had something?
Yeah, Mayor, just one thing, I just want to be clear. So on this budget here, you already hit the fund balance, 2.5 million.
2.2, I thought.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. So basic,
ENA? Oh, we did, wait. Oh, I did, you're right,
right,
yeah.
okay.
Because
So,
of a
I know,
little
I'm-
repair line typo.
yes. Okay, so
We had to find
basically,
another 250 grand. Yeah.
you already hit our fund balance.
Yeah.
You already hit it.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically, we're in this, and I'm asking the question, so if I'm wrong, tell me. We're basically in this situation, a lot of the situation we're in, because of one-time revenue streams that aren't there next year. So that 2.5 million that you took out already, in our next budget, okay, we're already gonna be short 2.5 million because you're gonna have to either go someplace to get that again. Am I correct?
Yes, and that's why I voted against last year's budget.
Okay.
Because we did it last year, it should have raised
Right.
taxes, yeah.
Right, and I can tell you why I voted for it, because I know we were concerned about the fire. It was about 1.8, and
Yeah, 100%.
and at the whole time, they kept telling us we had a $14 million fund balance.
And we didn't, actually.
Well, okay, but,
Yeah.
okay, we didn't.
And actually, I have an answer to that, if you mind, can I?
No,
add?
no, you can.
Yeah.
You're fine, but I just,
Oh, yeah, we have to
There's
be.
a lot of
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have to go.
no, I know,
Yeah.
I
If
know.
you guys are going past my budget,
Yeah,
and they
no,
have to go.
I know,
I just realized
I
that.
just
I'm
wanted,
sorry.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to,
I told you I'd take
Yeah.
care of you.
no, I just wanted to make that, I just wanted to make that clear, that they keep saying, okay, use the fund balance. You're already taking 2.5 out of it. It's already down, what is it down to, about 7 now?
I think it's down to around 9.8.
Right.
That's what we're projecting.
And you're probably gonna have to, at the next year's budget, you're probably gonna have to hit it again.
Well, right, so, yeah.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Potentially, but here's the thing, if we can get AIM adjusted, if we have more stores open that bring in more sales tax
Right.
revenue, there's a lot of things we could do over the next year with the parking plan. There's a
Right.
lot of different things we could
Right.
do to hopefully change that. I'm
Right.
already looking at potential savings in how we can deal with healthcare across the board. I mean, we need to manage the city so that we can bring expenses down.
All right, that's the last
All right.
question.
Thank you.
I'll get out of here.
You didn't want me to ask the last question, because you would've been going forever.
No, that's fine. All right, thank you.
Say again?
HR had 5 lines. I know they could go.
Well, I promised the police chief I would get him. So. Chief, you're up.
Excellent.
Just a little thing, what's going on, what do you, a little future, what you think, some of the operations you're going on now, plans, and we'll go from there.
So we're a department about, we employ 191 people, 170 sworn full-time police officers, and roughly 21 civilians, both part-time and full-time. I think we've shown in the past, and even currently, we've been very responsible with our budget. If you look at Munis today, our spending for our entire budget falls right now at 93.1% with less than a month to go. And from what I understand, that figure to be even less because typically the comptroller's office doesn't reconcile our grants until the end of the budget year. So, and a lot of that credit goes to Captain Basner, who helps me with my budget as well, so. But again, I just want to highlight the fact that we've been very responsible in the past and currently with the budget. The other things I'd like to talk about in regards to the budget is that we look for ways to not put additional funding on our taxpayers by trying to obtain grants. Now, we haven't had a grant writer in 12 years until we hired one in
Can you
March.
explain that again? I didn't quite understand what you said.
What's that?
Say what you just said again about it.
Sure. So we try to offset any cost for our taxpayers by applying for federal and state grants. You know, we went almost 12 years without a budget writer until we hired one that was trained in March of 2023. And to her credit, Cassandra has brought in $3.1 million in grants in that time frame, $1.9 million alone last year. And most of that grant money is going towards technology. What I've seen over the past course of the past several years is that criminals use technology, and we need technology to be able to use technology to our advantage to make arrests, solve cases. So technology plays a big role in that. Another way we look to offset any cost is any major investigations we go on, whether it's wires or special details for enforcement. We have great partnerships with federal agency, FBI, DEA, U.S. Marshals, ATF, in addition to the state police and the United County Sheriffs and most of our local law enforcement agencies. So we use those partnerships to our advantage. You know, when we look at the budget, one of the concerns that we've been seeing over the years is that our training budget used to be at $70,000. It's been trickled down, and the latest figure I think is at $45,000. You know, I'll share this line the Corporation Counsel has always used with me. You can either use that funding to train police, or you can pay out lawsuits. And to our credit, I think we're a well-trained police department. But when I see that number continually dwindle down, it's concerning. Now, we try to find training to come to the Mohawk Valley Police Academy as much as we can. But a lot of the specialized training that we do need for investigators, police officers, sometimes we have to send them away for the training, and that costs money. And there's also a travel and training line that goes in along with that, and that's been reduced as well. We would like to see those budget lines increase.
Do you, are you using some of your grant money to place back into the training that you're
Yes.
getting?
Yes.
Has that been working out for you?
It has. For example, that would be the grant we give from the Division of Criminal Justice Services from New York State. There's training lines in that. For example, it's used for training purposes for investigators when it comes to non-fatal shootings, for example. And there's some other, and working with the community on different initiatives for community-based policing as well.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I should have jumped in on that, but I'll send it over to Katie first there.
Thank you. One of the lines, I know we upped it in E&A, and there was the repairs line, I'm trying to find it now. For a police administration division, line 461. Can you tell me what some of the things are that you're looking to accomplish
What
this year?
line is it?
It is 461. I don't have the page.
Building repairs?
It's not building repairs. It's 220,000 for just repairs under police administrative division.
It's vehicle repairs.
Okay.
What we've been finding with the vehicle repairs since COVID, the cost of replacement parts for vehicles, has gone through the roof. And, again, it's something that's beyond our control. You gotta keep in mind, these cars are run 24/7. 365 days a year, all types of weather, and things are gonna break down.
Thank you. And
Yep.
there was just a couple, some of the amendments included things like I saw, there were vacant positions with the police department, like different lieutenants, but I hear that there's possibly already looking to hire. And
We do not have a vacant lieutenant's position.
Okay, yeah. So I think our salary sheet was outdated. So I'm just telling you, if don't be concerned if I'm not asking questions about it, because we were
Sure.
considering just pulling that completely. And then subscription services, I believe, went up to 35,000 this year.
Well, here's the thing with the subscription, and that's a line I'm glad you brought up. That subscription services for Lexipol. They store our electronic policies. We are a accredited police department. That's how our officers are able to easily read and access our policies, either from their cell phone through the data terminal in their police vehicles, or on the desktop computers. That subscription charge needs to stay the same.
Yeah, and I agree. We were just kind of bringing it up to let people know that's not one of them we were considering with that either
Okay.
anymore. But I appreciate the context.
Not only do they store the policies, but they also provide the latest updates.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Thank
Especially
you.
in federal law.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm all set. Thank you.
No, I'm good. I want to thank you for coming.
Sure.
But I don't have anything. Thank you.
Chief, thanks for coming in. I don't have anything either. Thank you for explaining those points. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have anything, Chief, just,
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. I do just have a couple lines when I went through, just quick stuff, so, your overtime, I see when you guys requested 6,000, the mayor, now what's that, wasn't on this, I'm on page 43, number 103. It was 1.9 this year, you guys went up to 6.
So, Joe, I think we have a different sheet than you have.
It's on page 43.
Yeah, this is the actual E&A approved budget, so it's just, it's police admin overtime.
Like I said, it's not allowed, but I just
6,000
wanna.
Yeah. That's for our professional standards office, our internal affairs.
Okay. I'm just wondering why
They were
it's
received.
why did we, I mean, it's not allowed, but I'm just asking, it was 1.1921, and it's going to 6,000 now? I just was wondering that, and then, you got some, they're minor, I'm not even gonna waste your time with it, but, lease payments,
There's two guys in there now.
okay, lease payments, they've
If I could just
they've gone
answer
way
your last
down.
question?
Yeah,
We currently have two people working out of the office. That's why the overtime has gone slightly up.
okay.
What we've been tasked over the past 2 years is, in addition to doing background checks for our own employees, we've also been tasked with doing background checks for all city employees, including the fire department.
Okay.
When that happens, I definitely need a second person to make sure we get those done in a timely manner.
And believe me, I'm not trying to give you a hard time, I'm just seeing
Sure.
things and I just wanna ask the questions. Software, my computer equipment, we went from, 4,000 to 75,000. You guys requested, the mayor said he's gonna give you 60,000. We got new computers coming in?
We have-
What's that about?
What line's that?
What line is it?
That line is line 214. It's on,
We actually-
I'm on 43 on my budget.
We had 75 grand last year.
Mhm.
We had to move money and not get computers this year, because we had to move it to vehicle repair. So we took from that line, that's why.
So the captain just explained it to us, what ended up happening, we had to move money out of that line
Okay.
and not do without computers for this year in order to plug the budget for auto repair lines.
Okay, and I see, down below here, subscriptions, what kind of subscriptions we talking about? We're going from 20,000 to 35,000?
So
What is-
35,000 is the annual fee for Lexipol, our policies.
Okay. All right, so, Mike, okay, so, but it's saying 2024 was 20,000. Is that because of the last, we didn't hit the last quarter yet? That's why, right?
Correct. That's what's expended,
That's what
that's
it
what's
is.
been
It's
expended
because
so
the last-
far.
The last week you spent so far, okay. And, your lease payments, it was beautiful. You guys, we went from 125 to 33 now. What's the reason on that?
From my understanding, didn't we recently get, a couple of vehicles on seizure?
So this lease payment line, that was a number, this was a number that was plugged in by the budget director in the past.
Okay.
I think 2 years ago, it was over 330,000,
Yep, it was.
and then this year was 125.
Yep. And now this year you're at 33. You're down even what you're down, though.
Is that what they put in there this year?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So you cut that back, okay, and repairs. Now, what's the difference between, this is the police administration, this is you guys, and the repairs and the support division, that's the guys on the street for the most part? Line 461, on page 43, we got repairs for, you guys requested 75, the mayor approved 55. That's,
So 53121 repairs, that's building repairs, and then the 53122 repairs, that's auto repairs.
oh, okay. All right, that's it. That's it. Just wanted to see a couple things when I was going through it. Yes. Thank you guys again.
I guess Jack's not here, so anyways, yeah, Joe, some questions, but you're doing a great job. Thanks for everything you guys do. I mean, in today's world, we need the police department.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I've got nothing tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming in. I had one question to you. Oh, go ahead, Frank.
I just got one question, non-related to the budget. One patrolman to a car,
Yes.
and what, on a typical 4 to 12 shift, how many cars do you have out
9, not including,
to cover the whole city?
not including sometimes 2, well, let me take that back. It's 9 patrol, uniform patrol, 2 of these, anywhere between 1 to 2 supervisors on the street. But they're also supplemented by a crime prevention unit that's out there with 2 supervisors and another 6 officers.
That's a lot of territory to cover with that.
It is, and the nice thing about the crime prevention unit, a lot of times the guys in uniform patrol are tied up on calls and reports. The crime prevention unit's not. That's the unit that we target our known gun offenders. And they're a proactive unit that goes out there, that's been responsible for taking a lot of the guns and making a lot of the gun arrests out in the street.
Yeah, but like on a typical 4 to 12 shift, probably got no traffic stops because they're probably already on other calls.
Uniform patrol division, they're busy.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I'm saying.
it's the busy shift.
All right.
Chief, I just have a question, really for my own knowledge. Page 6 of the E&A approved budget, line 152001, police special services under departmental income. Can you explain a bit about what that may include in the 300,000 requested and approved line?
Just give us 1 second.
Sure.
This one? Which page was it? 6?
300,000 special services.
It's gotta be.
Yeah, it sounds like you're right.
And which line was it? on page 6?
That's line 152001 under the departmental income. Just to get an idea of what that might include, again, just really for my own personal knowledge.
Police
Oh,
special services.
yeah, that's probably what it
Forward
is.
to revenue.
It's probably contracted service.
It may be the contracted services line. I can't say for sure, but we can give you an answer. We'll look
Okay.
it up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it,
Okay,
thanks.
So I can, so if that's what it is, so we provide a contracted service to, our biggest contract service with the school district, the auditorium, there's some other entities that we contract with, so they agree to pay a predetermined hourly rate, which covers salary, fringe, wear and tear on equipment. They hire a police officer. The police officer works for, say, for example, the school district for 4 hours. They're paid by the city. The city's reimbursed by the school district for that service.
Very helpful to know, thank you.
All right, I guess I got one last question. And we had spoke to this last week about this, the Public Safety Commissioner. Can I get your opinion on it?
Sure. The mayor and I, we had a discussion just before he got elected back in December at a press conference. And he asked me if, in my opinion, do we need a public safety commissioner? And in my opinion, if it's gonna be just another retired police officer or fireman, I didn't think we needed it. Since that time, to the mayor's credit, he's adamant he wants one, and he's been keeping it, myself and Scott Ingersoll part of the process of selecting one. Me and Scott both agreed that we would be better served if the public safety commissioner was someone either a lawyer or a judge that has expertise in labor law that can help us with grievances, discipline, and other labor issues, 207C, 207A. That would be a great help to us. And I'll support his decision either way, and I'll work with that person. Again, I just seen the history. I've been a police officer for now 36 years. I've been a chief now over 14 years, and I've seen the history of former police and firemen that have been named to that position of public safety commissioner, and I didn't see where it really helped us.
Venice, I hate to throw you in real quick, and sorry about your loss, first of all.
John took care of all that.
All right, any questions for the police?
Not really, not heavy.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
Guys are handsome
you're
in uniform.
dismissed.
Guys are handsome in uniform.
All right, who's next? What we got here?
Thank you.
HR? Thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Megan Scott. I am the HR director. I just started back in January. It's essentially my job to support and advocate for employees. I do a whole lot. Right now I'm doing benefits administration and management, HR policy creation and enforcement, performance management, employee relations issues, which could be, conflicts between employees. I am sending out a newsletter quarterly to talk about different things going on within the city for, kind of an HR perspective. So that's a little bit about what I do. My budget has very few lines, so hopefully this will be quick.
We like that.
Yeah, right. You're welcome. We've got the salary line, we've got the, supplies and materials, paper, envelopes, etc. Education and training, this would be for me to be able to attend, professional development events, trainings, specifically the Society of HR Management, or SHRM, has a lot. They have a membership that would give me access to a lot of different resources that we could use. They also have a certification that I could take along with several trainings. I do not have a travel budget because I don't need one. With contracted services, we are looking at potentially hiring an actuarial firm to come in and do an audit about our health insurance. We're essentially looking to see if the high deductible plan that we're on is the most cost effective. If it's not, we want to know. So we would need someone to come in and do kind of like a cost analysis for us on that. So that's what we're looking at in terms of contracted services. I know it's also been in the past used for like a labor relations specialist, someone who could come in and help us in terms of negotiations with the different bargaining units. That's what I got.
All right, Katie.
Thank you. I'm actually all set. You explained everything in detail. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Also good, thank you.
You said there you might have somebody come in and do a cost analysis on the healthcare. Didn't the city just go through, with a lot of the union negotiations? Didn't they go through something like that already over the last couple of years?
I know that the contracts are renegotiated every couple of years. I know the fire department one is upcoming this summer. So that would be something that we would want to potentially have someone come in for.
Do you plan on looking at that too before you get the cost analysis that's coming in from other?
Yeah, the goal would be to do that prior to any of the renegotiations so that we could have a clearer picture of what we want to offer.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Nice. I'm all set. Great job.
Megan, I haven't asked a lot of people a lot of questions throughout this budget season, but I think it's important to know your background and what you've done to be able to attribute to being the human resource director and working with that. So if you don't mind, can you just go through a little bit of your history? Because I think that's kind of important to know your role in regards to that.
Yeah, so I have a double major in psychology and interpersonal communication with a focus on conflict management. I have had several internships in college that were human resources related, and then I've been in the field for about 10 years. My big focus is on HR operations, which is, a lot of what I talked about: policy management and enforcement, employee relations, benefits, payroll, things that keep the lights on, triaging employee situations, any questions that they may have. It's kind of, unfortunately, HR is kind of a catch-all. People come to us and say, hey, you might know the answer to this. And it's kind of my job to say, I don't, but I'll find out who does. So I've been in the HR field for just about 10 years.
Perfect. And one last thing to, I guess, touch on what you've done for the city so far. Can you kind of, if you can, in your realm, kind of express what you've done so far in order to change some of the operations and what has happened since not having a human resource director? Because I think that's kind of important in the few short months that you've been here to kind of attest to, what you've been able to accomplish and change. And I appreciate, I've known you did the newsletter, and I think I went to send you an email and I didn't respond, thank you for this, but I meant to, so I appreciate that as well. But if you can, just touch back on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I've only been here a couple of months, and I broke my ankle very early into my tenure, so I was out for about a week. But I have been trying to do whatever I can to just bring the city to a point where they get used to having HR again. I know that we haven't really had anybody in this position, so employees have been going over here and over there, kind of a little bit everywhere to get their questions answered. So I'm just trying to center myself as a knowledge base and somewhere that they can go to ask these questions. Last week we had a benefits fair where all of our benefits vendors came in upstairs and talked to our different employees about what they offer, because open enrollment is going on right now. So we've been managing the open enrollment process, getting our vendors to be more involved with our employee base, because I don't think our employees know the great benefits we offer. I've been also working on recruiting efforts, so there have been some roles that we are looking to fill. One thing that I did was actually create an offer letter template. I didn't even get an offer letter. I'm sure not many of you did. And I said, that's got to be fixed. So, being able to create these documents, these templates, that's kind of what I mean about policy and procedure, those operational pieces. I've been creating a lot of just procedural documents, things we're already doing, but weren't written down anywhere. No one knew the exact process, so I said, okay, well, I can fix that.
And just to kind of go back into like the intricacies of the human resource department, like who has taken over like sexual harassment claims and so on and so forth? So that's been you. So
Yep.
you now oversee that. Do you work with any other department other than department heads of trying to, you know, if something like that was to come to fruition? And this is, you obviously have never been in front of us, so I'm asking you these questions. Like, I haven't had this conversation with you before, so I'm just curious. So who would that go through now, and
So
how
if
is it oversaw?
Yeah, so if there was a claim of sexual harassment, let's use that as an example, the process that as it would stand would probably be to report it to some type of department head who would then bring it to me, or bring it to me directly. We would then hold an investigation into the claim, you know, talk to all parties involved. I would definitely be involved in corporation counsel in that, making sure that we're, you know, following the right things that we need to do. And then we'd make our decision about any type of warnings or things like that. You know, that falls under employee conflicts too. You know, if someone says, hey, so-and-so yelled at me and I didn't like their tone, that comes to me too. It's not just the big high-level sexual harassment things and sexual assault. I just, you know, I got in a minor workplace conflict and I want to talk about it.
And who's been working on like updating the employee handbook? Is that something that you've been doing? Which I think that's important to kind of touch on too, if you don't mind, kind of explaining like the update of the process of how that's been, you know, working too.
Yeah, so one of the first things I did when I got here was read the handbook, which if you need to sleep at night, that's what you should do. Who wants to read the handbook, right? So it's kind of my job to know not only what the policies are, but what they could be. Making sure that we've got updates with employment law. Things change all the time, and we want to make sure that we are up to date on what's supposed to be in there for our employees, what's not. We also have obviously the different contracts with the bargaining units, so it has to be kosher with them as well. So it's a little bit of a dance of making sure that the policies that the city sets in place for all employees is in line with what the contracts say. So I have been going through highlighting, you know, I think we could change this, I think this could be updated. You know, for example, we don't have a maternity leave policy, and that's something that I want to be looking into. You know, why? First of all, finding out the why, and then going into, well, how can we fix it?
And then kind of one of the last things that I want to touch up on, because you talked about healthcare, and I think that a lot of people in the city, when we realize if we go to self-insured around, or, you know, going through the healthcare system for our insurance plan, I think kind of keeping up to date is kind of the way to be competitive as far as insurance rates goes. So, you know, you had said that, you know, you were kind of looking at going from maybe self-insured back to the employee benefits. I think, and I'll give you kind of my opinion, and then you could take whatever you want with it and then go with it. I think that it's important to have a healthcare committee. I think the best time that us as a city has ever been competitive with rates is when we've had somebody that's been able to deal with employee benefits and talk to the healthcare companies. So what is your standpoint as far as, what would you say, what would be your next step in kind of dealing with that type of issue, trying to be competitive in that? What would be your suggestion dealing with what you have in the past?
So we're going to remain self-insured at this point versus fully insured, which means that the claims that are being paid are just paid from the city, from a fund that we have for the employees and for healthcare. I think you're referring to the different like plans that we can have.
Even if the plans of insured and self-insured, like vice versa, like where have you seen, like, what do you think like the best aspect of us is moving forward?
I mean, we're currently in a high deductible plan, which means that our employees are theoretically responsible for paying a lot of money out of their pocket towards their medical bills. We're in a very, very fortunate position where the city funds those deductibles 100%. So that's a really great benefit, and I think, to your point, a great retention tool as well. You know, I think right now the next place that I want to go is education to our employees. I want them to really understand when you are in the private sector, that's not how benefits look. They are not that good. And I don't think our employees know how to use their benefits properly. I don't think they understand what really we're offering. So that's why I had our vendors come in for this benefits fair to talk about what was even offered, what do we have. You know, we have an employee assistance program, which is on-demand counseling that I don't think anybody knew about. And so I think that really the next step is that education piece. It's making sure that everyone's aware what we offer and how they can use it to its fullest extent.
And I think even going from that to that self-insurance plan of not having somebody in your position was kind of, you know, lacking in that, and kind of, you know, not only educating our members, but educating the entire city on what was supposed to be done. So I think with you in that position, hopefully we can save some dollars, and even with the healthcare committee, and I think that that's kind of an important aspect, that we've got to be competitive with that, and that could save the city a lot of money in the long run. So I thank you for all your work, and I appreciate what you've done in the few short months that you've been here. So, and you've always got a smile on your face, which is very nice. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, Megan, sounds like you know what you're doing.
You think?
Hope so.
So,
You think?
so thank you very much, and I think we're very lucky to have you. So,
Thank you very much.
welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You got the job.
Oh, thank gosh.
Now you can fill out your own form, whether you're or not.
Exactly. Thank you guys very much.
All right.
Thank you, Megan.
All right, I think we got youth up here.
No, I just saying.
A couple youths, we got a couple youths up.
You got a Utes?
Youths.
Utes.
Can you do me a favor? Can you put your back to the rock? No, I'm just kidding.
Put your back to Rocco.
Thank you.
No, I really 2 cups. What's this?
Handouts.
Were you Rand McNally?
We gotta wait for Sam, or are we going?
Go.
All right, letter of it. Chet Locanti, Recreation Director. My job is probably one of the most unique in the city. Not only do I run the recreation for the city, I also run the actual rec center on the Parkway. What I handed out to everybody, because I came ready, because at first there was an error in the budget, and my budget didn't look the way it should have, but I think it since has been corrected. Hopefully we stay there. So I brought stuff to show you what we actually do, because, and this is no attack on anybody by any means, I ask everybody to come up and visit the rec center and see what we actually offer and what we actually do there. Because we actually are the biggest entity in the city on the side of police and fire. We offer the most programming that any department in the city does. First, what you'll see is that is our summer brochure. This is last year's. We obviously didn't create this year's. Okay? That's everything we offer in the summer. Okay? Programming aside, we also do run a full rec center. We have a senior center in there. We have an after-school program. A duplicated number, obviously, we have 5,000 people that come through those doors every week at the rec center. That next sheet, which you'll see, it says Youth Bureau Summer 2023. That's 2023's numbers of the youth, well, people, essentially, not just youth. 15,170 duplicated number that we served last year just in the summer alone. 9 parks, 3 pools, and as you can see, all the programs, tennis, golf, basketball. This year was the first year that we've had our swim program back since 2019. And we offered it again this year. So that second sheet, where it says summer, Youth Bureau Summer 2023, that next sheet is our community wellness program attendance, just from January to the end of February. As you can see, those are the numbers. Last year, the community wellness, it wasn't even a full year, we served 7,200 youth, just in the wellness program alone. And that runs Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Thursday and Friday is just upstairs in the chalet, and it's younger kids, and it's just basically, they come in, they might be playing checkers, coloring, and we give them a snack. Compassion Coalition, donated a bunch of snacks. We actually just, I was gonna thank the chief, they got a $2,500 grant for community programming, and they gave us $2,500, but Officer Curley actually went and bought the supplies and gave us a gift card for an ice cream social for that program. So I mean, I challenge anybody to come actually check that program out. And then on the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday, it's basically just an open gym at the rec center for kids coming down to play basketball. Last week, Pizza Box donated, I think 8 pizzas, pan of spaghetti, bread. Some of these kids come in and they're looking for a hot meal, and that's what they get every week from either, getting it donated. Now the money that Curley has, Officer Curley through the chief, and that grant, the next 3 weeks he's gonna get us pizzas every Saturday for the kids. Then the last two, that's a donation letter that we send out for the wellness program, as you can see. That first one on that one page. And then the next two is just a brochure for you guys to have. That's the community wellness program brochure, and then the next one is just the skating rink one that Mayor Galimi put out. It's not anything I did, I just wanted to provide that to you guys so you know the hours in case anybody asks. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it. But numbers wise, the rec center is constantly used. We're open 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. We're open at 6 a.m. and we have an employee that works for, obviously, the Youth Bureau. She opens up at 6 o'clock in the morning. We have seniors that come and city patrons that come and use the fitness center. As you all know, we have a full fitness center. There's a lot of moving parts in that rec center. Obviously, the programs we run, Dick Miller, Michael Harris. Obviously, I had a couple council men and women that showed up for our championship games. Rock is actually one of the coaches. Sam is one of the coaches, so they see how we do things. Obviously, the wellness program I talked about, the summer, the rec center weekly. We also did a coat and sneaker drive this year. 35 kids, we raised $1,200. 35 kids benefited from either a coat and sneakers or a coat, hat, gloves this year. We actually asked a bunch of coaches to provide us with kids that needed it. It was all kids of need. The first pair of sneakers we gave away, I met the kid before his game, and he couldn't even start the game. He was crying so much. And we have pictures. It's all on our social media, which was created. We have a Facebook page, Instagram. We already have 1,000 followers on our Facebook page, and everything is on there, and you can see everything that we've done. We created this year Athlete of the Week for every level. We run a job fair, and at the job fair we always have 200 to 300 youth. Last year was 310 that attended. At the rec center weekly we have AAU basketball practice. We had cheerleading last week. Little League's in there every week. Last year Hoops and Dreams had 1,500 participants. And in case anybody didn't know, our budget last year took in, I shouldn't say our budget, but we took in $55,236, whether that be fitness money for the fitness center. Our county allocation is $21,176. Muni softball takes in $20,000. Our field and gym rental, we took in around $7,000. And our Dick Miller, Michael Harris fees, we took in $5,560. So I just wanted to put those numbers out there so you guys actually knew, because it's not anything that is on these sheets, so.
All right.
So go ahead, any questions that we're ready?
Go around this way, we'll change it up.
Sure, so Chet, if you can, kind of explain what you do, because I really didn't understand what effort you put in, obviously going through Dick Miller, but I think it's kind of important to explain your role as the director and what you do in order to keep, you know, Dick Miller basketball going and stuff like that. And we'll start with, like, as far as the facilities go.
So, first off, I think I am the lowest paid department head in the city. And that's not, and I didn't take a raise, I didn't get a raise, nor did I ask for a raise. I actually love what I do. So like I said, we have a rec center that has 5,000 people that come through those doors per week. Full fitness center, we have 32 Cybex weight machines. We have 3 treadmills, 4 elliptical bikes, 2 seated bikes, a rower, and an assisted bike, which is for handicap. And obviously, the upkeep of that every day. Yesterday alone, myself and Julius, the janitor, we had to put a Kevlar belt on one of the machines that if I would have called Syracuse Fitness, it would have cost us $300. So we paid $72 for the part and we put it on. Just basically being the person that's overseeing the daily operations of the building. We have a senior center in there. And Kelly Walters, who's the director of the senior center. We have the after-school program, which is through Safe Schools. And they all look to the director of the building if there's any issues going on. Dick Miller basketball, we have 38 coaches with Utica. We had 43 teams that were involved this year, so you have to act as an athletic director, overseeing all the coaches, making sure the coaches are doing what they're supposed to do. Have to find them all at site to practice, which is all the Utica City School District gyms. Work very closely with the principals to make sure that we can use the gyms. We have to put in a permit at every single school for our teams to practice. We have outside teams. We had Clinton, New Hartford, Whitesboro, Utica Academy of Science that were in there this year. And we have to make sure they all provide us with their insurance, proper rosters, their registration forms, and they obviously pay us. And I oversee, we have 2 rec specialists in there, a secretary, a laborer, all the part-time staff that runs for Dick Miller, Muni Softball, the summer program. We have to, our state regulations for obviously all our summer programming. And the biggest is the pools with lifeguards, and making sure we're following the county regulations, making sure all the lifeguards are CPR and lifeguard certified, making sure all our parks, working closely with Dave Short, Mark Sokolowski, making sure all our parks are up to regulations, all playground stanchions, slides, obviously anything new that's in the city, we gotta make sure all that is inspected. Obviously with weed whacking, all the permits in the city, anybody that wants to use a field, all those permits come through our office. So if somebody wanted to use Wackel Playground or Wackel softball field, like Notre Dame, they put in the permit, they submit it to us, we make sure they have the insurance. They do pay us a $200 permit fee because that's in the charter. And making sure their insurance is up to date, making sure they're keeping up the field before, during, and after. And obviously taking care of the budget, overseeing payroll, overseeing time off, making sure the building's staffed on the weekends. Fire alarm goes off, I'm the one that has to go there and make sure.
We're good, Mark, 'cause we got to move on.
So I think it's kind of very important for people to see that you're not, and let me finish a couple very quick, 'cause, so I think that, number one, it's important to understand that you're not only director, that you do all that, but you were also cleaning toilets during Dick Miller basketball, things like that. Like, it's simple things in life that the Dick Miller program is probably one of the best run programs that I've coached and I've been a part of, and I think because the effort of you and your team has been able to fulfill that.
Yeah, we didn't have a janitor for a year, so I was actually the director, the janitor, anything that was needed to be done. Not a lot of people do that.
And you had people coming from all over that were able to
Yeah.
come to a clean facility. So not only, and it's kind of important, because not only do I do basketball there, I also do baseball and softball. And I think it's important to know that, you know, we have kids from all over coming, and we come to a clean facility, everything's, you know, up to date, and I think that you do beyond your means, and I think it's obviously because of your passion, but
Thank you.
without what you do in putting that together, a lot of our youth wouldn't see, you know, what we're able to do as a city.
Absolutely.
And, you know, even with that program last year, my kids were able to do the golf clinic, like I said, baseball, softball, and, you know, basketball. You've done a phenomenal job, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you've
Appreciate
done.
it.
So
Thank you,
I
sir.
wanted to touch on that, because, again, I've been a part of it, and this year was an eye-opener to what you do at that facility. So, thank you.
Appreciate it. Mark?
Evening, Chet. I got a question on the lifeguards. You always have a problem, you know, getting lifeguards during the
Yeah.
summer. Is there some type of program where you can pull Proctor kids in, Notre Dame kids in, you know?
So, I know we're crunched for time, but to give you a background, our director retired, I moved into his position. We did hire 2 recreation specialists. We didn't add anything onto our payroll. We actually deducted people. Pre-pandemic, we had 10, now we had 7. So the reason why I'm getting to a point, we hired another rec specialist, and her job was recruiting for summer programming. And before she even was full-time, she created and worked with the Utica City School District to have them offer free lifeguarding for their students. And we're doing it again this year. We're working very closely with Vinnie Parada, and that was due to our recreation specialist putting the time in and figuring out what we can do and working with the Utica City School District. So we since have bridged that gap.
Well, I just want to let you know, and I echo what Sam said, doing a great job,
Thanks,
Chet.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you very much.
No, I don't have nothing but thank you for everything you do. I
Yep.
enjoyed coming to your basketball
Actually,
playoffs.
and to go a step further, Councilman Irving, 2 years in a row, also did get a grant, and correct me if I'm wrong, what the name of the grant was. We got, I want around $12,000 also to pay for lifeguards that couldn't afford the lifeguard course, and we went to Venice, and he helped us through the county program to do that 2 years in a row.
Thank you,
Thank you. That was the gun violence prevention program.
Okay.
So that's how we pay for that. I don't have no money this year. So
No,
don't call me.
You sure? Come on.
I got
No, I know.
my grant didn't get renewed yet, so don't call me.
Yes.
But I don't have anything for you. I know all about
Yes.
what you do pretty much, so.
Thank you.
Sounds like we're lucky to have you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sound like you love what you do.
I do love what I do.
Hey, thanks for coming in. Just a couple brief questions. So with the additional funding for wages, where do you see that taking the youth bureau? Is that going to take it to the next level? Could you speak a little bit about those plans this year that you have?
So the additional funding, which really wasn't a ton of additional funding, I mean, I guess the mayor did help out with, I mean, we were operating in the red for so many years because we were cut constantly. How much do you need? Oh, I need 50,000. Well, we're going to give you 10. And sometimes it just doesn't work. So what I did add was the 2 wellness coordinators, which are laborers, essentially, that run that wellness program that is grown phenomenally. And like I said, that's the Thursday through Sunday program. Teens are coming in off the streets, and especially during that 4 to 8 hour that a lot of things can happen. We had, I think this past Sunday, we had 45 in there in the gym alone, not counting the 20 or 30 younger youth that we had upstairs. So that we added the 2 wellness coordinators. I added 2 park attendants, which weren't in there, which Longo Field, and that may change, but Longo Field is permitted, and it's the biggest permitted park that we have because it's a turf field. And it is fenced in and it's locked, and the reason why that is because there's a lot of moving parts on that field. We have cameras, we have a full clubhouse that can get broken into. In the field alone, is turf. So if you play on it constantly, those kids are running up and down on it. If you just have it just a free-for-all, it can be ruined. Full stadium-size speakers and, I can't even think of the name, scoreboard that has 4 huge TVs on it that all our Utica Bulldogs, all our soccer groups all use Longo Field. So the 2 park attendants are for that.
And Chet, you started at the Parkway how many years ago?
So this is my 24th year.
Can you speak briefly a little bit to when you started, the state of the facilities and these programs compared to now, 2 decades later, the growth that you've seen?
Yeah, so we actually, when I started, it was a county-city merger. And quickly did I see that that wasn't what the city needed to do. And at that time, I was the assistant, and I worked really closely, obviously, with the director. And we got into Tim Julian's ear, and he brought us back. And at that time, that facility was brand new. So we went to that facility, and since then, since I took over, we've created these 3 new programs. And we brought the swim program back. The state of the city, when 24 years ago, we didn't have as much gun violence. We didn't have as many teens running around the street going crazy. So there really was no programming for kids just to have a place to go. And now 3 years that I've been in charge, we opened the doors to do that. And we really don't charge any of the youth agencies to use it, like AAU. We have AAU practices in there Monday through Friday. Little League uses it on Saturday and Sunday, and then the wellness program also on Saturday and Sunday.
No, thank you for everything you do, and throughout the year, if there's anything you think the council can assist with, I'm sure we'd be more than happy to see what we could do. So thanks again.
If anybody would like to donate snacks, we'll be gladly take them for that wellness program. Just drop them off at the rec center. We'd love that. All right.
What type of snacks?
Oreos.
Any single serve stuff, like not a box, not a bag of Oreos. I mean, anything that's single serve stuff. Juice boxes, anything like that.
You mentioned your Facebook page. Have you posted anything like that, or
If you like it, it's just City of Utica Youth Bureau. If you go on Facebook, you'll see all we post. Last week we posted about the pizzas that were donated from Pizza Box and all that, and the Instagram page.
Yeah, and when I speak to council involvement, I mean, if there's a way that we can help spread the word with, anything from, as you mentioned, the snacks to donations, different things, and just let us know. Yeah.
As you can see, that donation letter that I let Alvisa put it out. Obviously, my name's on the top of it. I don't need to micromanage, so she's very smart, which she does. So she's the one that runs our wellness program. She actually works for the neighborhood center, and she put together this letter. As you can see, this is the one that we put out for donations. That's the letter right there. But yeah, we've grown. And, please come down, stop down. I'll give you a tour of the facility. But right now, we do need a lot of improvements in the facility. Upkeep is very big in that building. I mean, those doors are opened daily, and breaking doors, toilets. We have actually 3 full bathrooms, 67 toilets, 18 urinals. So there's a lot of moving parts in that building that people don't know.
One building alone?
Yeah. We have the full chalet, we have the gym, and we have the rec area, the lobby area. So
I appreciate you going through all that. Thanks.
Bob? I don't have anything, but thank you very much.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I just want to say thank you. I learned a lot tonight, and even on our call before, and you're just so accessible, and it makes it really easy to see everything that's going on there. So thank you.
Most of you that I text, that's me, that's my number. Please save it. Feel free to stop down. But
Thank you so much.
anything budget-wise that you'd like to talk about, everything is used. Every dollar. I've been transferring money like crazy the past 2 weeks because we were in the red in a lot of our budget lines, so, yep.
I have a
So-
question.
yeah.
You deal so much with the children in our city here, and you bring them in, and I think you see some of, you know, a lot of children that may have issues, you know, at home or just mental health issues that they're dealing with. What do you have at your service if you see someone, a child that needs some mental health or needs some family counseling or anything? What's your liaison there that you would be able to?
So Alvisa works for the neighborhood center. I brought her in, and she actually brings in, it's called Chubbs. She brings them in, and they have counseling services there right now.
So if you saw something, or if anybody, they would relay it to you, and you would relay it to Elvira and get that child involved with Chubbs?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually deal with a homeless girl that's going through the after-school program. We actually helped and assisted her, which is not even part of or in our budget. We helped and assisted her find an apartment, and she was actually she was homeless, she was living in a hotel. And one weekend, she had nowhere to live. We had to find a place for her to stay. Yeah.
Do you have enough help in that end?
Yeah, I think we're good with our staff. Absolutely.
Because that's where sort of the rubber meets the road here.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting at, you know?
We have a good staff. Like I said, 2 rec specialists, myself, my assistant, Janine Johnson, 2 rec specialists, Keith Brown and Francesca, which actually is my daughter, Francesca Locanti, and our secretary, which is Geraldine Frank. Yep.
Okay, good. And I'd be up to see it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Any questions around the horn? One last time? All right.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Great job.
Thank you. Yep.
Councilman Lomenico, we want to start our meeting at 7:30, so we're running a little bit behind, but.
I got you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Frank, you're up. We're trying to go here. I'm trying. I'm trying. I think we just got one after. All right, Frank, you're on. Give us a little intro and.
I'm Frank Mattola, I'm the IT director. My department oversees all IT services for the entire city, police, fire,
Frank,
DPW.
speak. Either we got to be quiet or Frank's got to speak a little louder.
Both, probably. So, I am the IT director for the city of Utica. We oversee all IT services for every department in the city. Police, fire, DPW, parks, city hall, obviously. My budget lines are pretty straightforward. Salaries are the salaries. Other equipment could be anything that we may need that doesn't fall into the software or computer equipment line. Could be pieces of equipment we need for testing and such. Computer equipment is something we kind of budget for every year because we never know what it's going to be. We're not talking about major upgrades, but something could fail. A small switch or small firewall somewhere could fail and we need to buy that. Office supplies, we really don't use much in office supplies. We don't do any mailings, we don't do any stamps or envelopes. Supplies and materials other, I'm not really sure what that is, to be honest with you. Obviously I don't use it. So it could be anything, it could be batteries, I would imagine fall into that. Printing, we do no printing. Education and training, that was kind of a big one. That doesn't reflect education and training for me and my staff. It's more for security awareness training we need to do for all employees. It's been budgeted, it was always handled, the logistics of it were handled through Lori Rockwell's department to put together. But we bring in an outside agency to do that, and this year we really, really need to do it. So I don't think $5,000 is going to cover that fee to do that. Ever-changing world, constant attacks, phishing attacks, every kind of computer attack you could think of. So we need to inform the employees what to look for, how to look for them, how to report them, how to deal with them. That's what that line is for. Contracted services, part of the IT budget, we always outsource higher level support and a couple of help desk people that sit, one in the police department and one in City Hall. The lease payments, as Captain Basner alluded to earlier, that seemed to be a line that was put in there. I'm not really sure what our lease payments are, other than our copy machine. I don't think we have any legitimate lease payments. Social Security, again, is tied to wages. So if you have any questions, feel free.
And I think we were discussing the education training line. Didn't somebody also from the police department retire and who would help with IT? Is that something you will have to assist with those services?
So the education and training for that?
That's what I think that I gathered from it, but I didn't know if that meant we had to take on more IT for even any police situation.
That's a different situation. That's kind of.
Or training people for body cams, that's what it was, or any of.
Well, body
names like
cam
that.
training is handled by the body cam vendor, which is now Axon.
Okay.
So they handle that training. Police-specific training has to do with their function, is all handled by the police department in that training. What I was talking about is security awareness training for all the employees, what to look for, what kind of attacks are happening through computers, through social engineering, through phone calls, through email. And it's something that we're required to do, and we really need to do because we haven't done it in quite some time.
Okay.
That's where that budget was earmarked for.
Okay, no, duly noted, thank you so much. Helps.
I want to thank you for waiting so long. And thank you for what you do. I have no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm all set, Frank.
Good. Good. Samantha?
Thanks, Frank.
Yeah.
One question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Frank, we kind of we were redoing this room behind us,
Yes.
eventually to have a computer access for the council, so on and so forth. What are the chances that we can actually get Munis back up and going on this computer if we ever need to access it? I know you were going through us with logins and so on and so forth.
Munis migrated just recently into a more of a web-based application. So to get access on that computer is really not a big deal.
Okay.
That always kind of went to the majority leader, I believe, is the way.
Well, actually, it used to go back to our city clerk, and our city clerk used to hold that information for us for login using.
No, I mean, originally it was put in, I think, when you and Joe started.
I was just able to access it probably 2 years ago was probably the last time I was
Okay, so
able to
that's
do it.
different, okay.
So that had a user login and password that Brian
No
McCluskey was able to give to us. So that if we could just maybe update that, but I know the computer's out of date
Yeah,
and they kind of changed everything. So even if you give us any computer, no matter where it is, I
Who's
mean,
going
just.
to access? Is it going to be a general access account?
I think it should be a general access
you'll
account.
handle who
Yeah,
goes
I mean,
in
if
there
you
at
could
the
just
time?
maybe give it to the clerk's office, and then, even if Andrew or Melissa, either one of them need to just hold on to that username and login, that we can actually go to them and kind of figure out, if we, let them be the safe code for it. But obviously that was the only computer because Munis was downloaded onto that one, we were able to access it too. But even if you just, whatever you can, but just so that as long as we have access to it, because I haven't had access to it in about 2 years.
Yeah, well, okay. That's no
Okay,
problem.
all right, cool, thanks so much.
Just a quick question, referencing the cameras on the poles, how we doing finally getting, moving ahead on the cameras on the poles? Where we at?
Essentially, we've put up a lot of them. I can't give you specifics on that. So we can really quickly backtrack. So originally they were put in by a grant that the district attorney's offices had in most of the municipalities. We've taken over that network entirely from the county, and we've replaced cameras that they put up originally with higher resolution, more functional cameras. So from that, there's 6 more of those to go. Then we've been attacking them from facilities, and when I speak of facilities, I'm talking about the pole itself that the city owns. Traffic light signal poles, that kind of thing, any metal pole we own. Anything else has to go to National Grid we have to submit applications.
That's the part I
for
wanted to
attachment.
sort of talk about a little.
And then we have to submit to Verizon as well, and then there's a power attachment that follows that. My experience in doing this for quite some time is Utica kind of fell in a hole with National Grid. There was no direct representation here anymore. That changed once the city started growing a bit, and they put a person in charge of this kind of area. His name was Tom Colucci. Tom was a fantastic guy. We started getting things moving forward. Tom retired. We went back into that little dip again. Now they have a new person. His name is Rich Fox. Just spoke to him last week, and we're trying to set up a meeting for next week. I want to invite him in, get all the stakeholders together, so they can streamline that process and get us on a pole a lot quicker than 2 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It is, but everybody's experienced that. In Schenectady, actually, National Grid is denying their applications for poles based on any kind of number of things. So that's that part of it. That's the paperwork, the red tape part of it.
And do we own enough of our own poles where?
We do. Unfortunately, what happens is the police tells me they need a camera here. And if there's no suitable pole, I mean, it's not like you can say, okay, we'll go 3 blocks over there because we have a pole.
Right.
We need to do everything possible to get them a pole here. And then there's network connectivity. How do we get that information back to the servers to record that video? What happens when the network goes down? So what we've done is a lot of things. We've installed SIM card or SD cards in all the cameras in case the connection is broken, they still record. There's a lot of things we do. Some places we have to use cellular, some places we can use radio, some places we can use different radios. It depends on where it is. But the police dictate through the Crime Analysis Center where the locations are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any last questions? I think that's it. Somebody want to call the
Thank you.
I'll second.
second? All right, we're adjourned.
Will come to order. City clerk will take roll.
Aiello, Burmaster, Bitar, Carcone, Irvin, Beatrice, Williamson, Colosimo Testa, Lemetico, Druzzi, all present.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for the deceased members of the County Council. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have ordinance number 1.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend ordinance number 1, looking to change the $20,358,000 to have it say $20,169,500.
Mr. President, I don't mean to interrupt, but we have to do this correctly. You have to introduce the ordinance first. Then you have, once you introduce the ordinance, then you have to make an amendment on the floor. This is the first time that they're introduced.
Yeah.
Yeah. Need a second? No, I just said ordinance number 1. Yeah. Can I get a second?
Either way.
Okay. Non-property tax items, A4031111001, city sales tax, $19,750,000 to $20,358,000, a $608,000 change, projecting a total increase of 8% sales tax to reduce tax levy. Motion to amend.
Yes, make a motion to amend, so the $20,358,000 to say $20,169,500.
Second?
And I'd like to make another motion to amend, to change the $608,000 to say $419,500.
Second?
And then the final amendment is to change 8% in the rationale to say 7%.
Time out, once
Make a
again.
motion to amend.
You have to finish your motion with the original amendment to make sure that the motion actually goes. So there has to be a vote on the motions that were there to amend before it's introduced. Yeah, but you didn't take a vote. There's got to be a vote to whether or not that motion actually goes. So now you say a motion and a second. Does a five-person
Can we have a
majority
second?
make that to go?
And then can we have a vote?
Yes. Thank you.
So you're going to vote on the first amendment?
Yes.
Do we even have to vote? I thought it's if nobody.
No, you're making a motion to amend it.
All right,
You've
we'll
already
go-
introduced.
Let's do it the right way.
Is anyone opposed?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Anybody opposed?
Just put it in the committee and we'll discuss it.
Any opposed?
We're gonna do it on the 19th. We'll discuss it.
I was already up.
Seven yeas to amend.
Ordinance number 2, non-property
No, you got to do this.
These all have to be referred to business. After they're introduced, they'll go to committee, they're read.
Okay,
And then
so-
they're referred to committee, you can't pass them unless.
No, we're not passing them, we're just referring them to committee.
So I don't know why we put all this in. Just a second. The procedure is pretty simple. You are here to introduce ordinances. All you do is move to introduce the ordinance, and you get a second, and then the ordinance is read, and then that has to go to committee unless the person thinks they have 9 votes. So, in my opinion, probably every one of these is gonna go to committee, and we can do this rather quickly, because they all have to be read individually. Did you introduce the first ordinance? And then you
Yes.
amended it, right?
Yes, we have 2 more amendments.
Now,
I don't have amendments for everything
they
at all.
voted on the amendment, and it passed 7-2, right?
Yes.
So we're not amending
Well,
everything.
that was the
No.
first amendment.
Just for this one.
That's the first amendment.
There's
There's a second amendment.
There's 2 more.
There's 2 more
It's
amendments.
going, yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
Okay, so just read your second amendment. and then
Second
we'll take
amendment.
Second amendment, change 608,000 to say 419,500.
Can I have a second to amend?
All right, you guys have to make a motion to introduce.
We did.
She did, okay, so now you're making a motion to amend once that it's introduced, okay. Okay, just wanted to make sure, because it's very confusing, okay.
And then
Because I thought you just said the only, right, okay, just wanted to make sure.
Can we have our votes?
Nine yeas to amend the Second Amendment.
Make a motion to amend, striking 8% to have it say 7%.
Get a second.
Can I have a second to amend?
Keep looking at me.
In your votes.
And your votes,
Hold my
please.
finger up there.
That's the, to 7% in the rationale,
From the levy,
from 8 to 7%.
from 8 to 7.
Yeah. Okay. Third Amendment, 9 yeas. Now you got to do a motion to commit.
Make a motion to commit.
Motion to commit ordinance number 2. Non-property tax, can I have a second?
You got it. She got me.
Yep, thank you. Non-property tax items.
You got to get introduced.
Make motion to introduce?
Yep.
You want me?
Second?
Now you read it.
Okay, non-property tax items, cannabis tax from $0 to 200,000, change of 200,000, projecting revenue from the city's 3% tax of cannabis sales to reduce tax levy.
Point of order, and I think it needs some clarification from the judge and Corporation Counsel. This was an amendment that had a to-be-determined account, and I need some clarification on whether or not the council has the authority to make a to-be-determined account, or if they only have the authority to add, increase to a certain line or decrease to a certain line.
You
So-
can increase, decrease, strike. Now, here, there's no account number for the reason, I think, that there is no account, is there?
There is no account, and
Well, they're just saying, the city account to, they're increasing revenue they're increasing revenue by $200,000, because, they anticipate there will be an account.
We're guessing at this?
no,
And
we'll
so,
explain
I
all
mean,
that in another committee.
Has there
It's-
been a court decision that says,
We'll discuss it.
just a second.
That's-
Jack, I'm.
Guys, the judge has the floor.
I want to start out from the beginning to say that this section of the Utica City Charter says that the Common Council has the right to increase, decrease, or strike any item or add thereto. So, and it says add thereto specifically. They are adding an income item to the budget. And at this point, I say you can do that, because I don't know of anything that says you can't. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Corporation Counsel, if you
That's-
can, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't at this time, although I do believe that there needs to be something that that account is going into. So there needs to be an account associated at some point. You can't just be adding money and not have accounts that you're
Totally.
associating them with.
Even to the to-be-determined account, it should be rectified before you're trying to put an amendment in.
Well,
'Cause
this is
now
one
you're
of-
gonna have to, excuse me, now you're gonna have a discussion on what line that actually goes to. If you're saying that cannabis is coming in a certain revenue separate from the actual city budget, there has to be a line that has to be increased to. So I guess if you were doing it to maybe sales tax or another revenue line, I could maybe understand that. But just to add a line that's to be determined is not something that's in our authority. So that's an amendment that I'm gonna ask this council to hold off on until you find an account that it actually could be added to.
This council will follow the procedures. You introduce the matters, they go to committee. If they get on the floor, you vote on them. And if you don't believe that they're proper, you vote no. And if you do they're proper, you vote yes. And then eventually the mayor's going to review them. And if we know that the cannabis law, I think, is going to produce revenue. Is there anywhere in the budget, any other place, where the cannabis law's revenue has been set forth anywhere? I'm asking Councilman.
We've never had that before.
Have reviewed the budget.
We've never had that before. We have options put in other lines. That's why we wanted to get it into committee, so
Well-
we could discuss as a committee what we thought was the best place for it.
The council is anticipating that the city of Utica is going to take revenue. They said 200,000, and whether it happens or not is a matter of future
review. So you could do it what you wish with it. It's being offered, it's going to committee.
But to
Okay.
our,
Councilman Burmaster?
I'd just like to say, we talked to the mayor, and the mayor mentioned sales tax, and I don't know the account number for sales tax, so that would be the account this would go in. But I talked to the mayor yesterday.
so you
about
just added an amendment that you just amended was to sales tax? So
Pardon?
that was to sales tax. You just did that previously.
I would really prefer if we just wait as a committee to figure out what we can do with
I think
this.
now you're
Guys,
asking me
we're
to.
gonna go to a motion to amend or a motion?
I agree,
Motion
but Brock,
to
you're
commit.
asking me to make a motion to amend on a line item that the
I'm
council
not.
doesn't have the authority to do, and I think that's improper at this time. And if you want to make a motion to increase or decrease a line, then it has to be a line that's in our purview as a council person. So now I have to defeat a line item that I don't feel that's in our authority to do, and it's not.
It's not like we're not voting on it yet.
Katie, you're asking me to vote on on a budget amendment, right? That has a to be determined account,
And maybe
which
it'll
we
even
do not
say-
have the authority to do.
Guys, is there a motion to commit?
Motion to commit.
Second?
Go on. We'll be
Any
all right.
opposed? Ordinance number 3.
Motion to commit, motion to introduce.
Second. Non-property tax items to be announced, parking meters from $0 to $50,000, change of $50,000. Install 310 parking meters the city bonded for in 2023 to collect parking revenue and reduce the tax levy.
Are we doing it? Did we already? Motion to commit?
Do you want a motion to amend or?
No, all these are good to go.
Motion
Yeah.
to commit.
Motion to commit.
Okay, have a second? Nobody's.
I'm just going to clarify it really briefly, that again, so the city doesn't have parking meters, right? We don't have them installed. We're anticipating a revenue that we don't have a line item for. So even if we were to anticipate revenue, we're making up something that doesn't even exist. So I just want to clarify that, and this is why there are no votes, Rob. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
No.
We can explain all of these in committee gladly. And some of these might not even vote. We're not trying to push them through. We want to just talk to them as a whole committee.
Councilman Bitar?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a point of clarification from the judge's interpretation of the city charter. Judge, to what you had mentioned earlier, could you just repeat, are you aware of any authority that says the council cannot put in committee a proposed amendment without a line item? I just want to clarify that from council's point of view.
I'm sorry, Council, I didn't hear you talking to the microphone.
Sure, Judge. So what you had just mentioned regarding the council's authority to increase, decrease, or strike
Yes.
certain proposals, can you just repeat that just for a point of clarification from your point of view on the council's authority?
Well, first of all, subdivision F of the Utica City Charter is just very simple language. It says the councils, and when it's submitted to them, the estimate shall increase or decrease individual items, add items, or strike items from the estimate, provided the amendments are stated separately and distinctly and the reason for the change. Now, the reason for the change on this last one, as I understand it, there's an anticipation that we're going to ask the administration to install parking meters. And they're creating a budget item for it. And it doesn't exist, but that doesn't mean they can't put it in there. There's nothing that says they can't put it in there. It's whether it's going to be passed, vetoed, or whatever by this council is for another meeting. The next thing is to refer it to committee, and if Ms. DeGiorgio wants to discuss this with Mr. Brown or her people, and I get a little chance to, but we're
And
gonna
Judge,
be
is there,
quiet
I
anyway.
apologize, Mr. President.
So,
Judge, is there anything
that's
that,
my answer. Yes, sir.
Judge, I apologize. Is there anything you see that prevents this council from sending this to committee?
Send it to the committee? No, you can always send it to the
Okay,
committee.
thank you.
If you've got 5 votes.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
make a motion to commit, and then if anyone's opposed,
That's it. That's all we're
Speak
doing
up.
tonight.
so we're going to ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 4.
Yes, make a motion?
Second. Okay. License and permits, building permits, $500,000 to $600,000, $100,000 change, increased projection based on 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Anyone opposed?
The only other
Motion to
question,
commit.
Judge, can I ask you one more clarification? Do you pass a budget with a to be determined account?
Pardon me?
Can you pass a budget with a to be determined account?
To be determined? If, the reason I don't know the answer to that question is because I've never seen a litigation on it. I've never seen a litigation on this budget, to tell you the truth, the charter that was changed a long time ago. But if it says if you can add, to me it means you can add, but it's anticipation. I think, like you take the parking meters, but this is, if that passes this council, whatever number, and goes to the mayor is gonna determine whether he has in his mind any parking meters, and if he doesn't, he's gonna veto it. And, there in the votes, override, the override, the veto takes 6 votes.
Okay.
So it all depends what your philosophy is. So at this point, it's all speculation. That's the best I can do. Thank you, Mr. President.
So we have a motion.
Make a motion.
To commit, a second. Any opposed? Commit.
As long as nobody opposes, we can
A
just.
motion to introduce ordinance number 5.
Make motion?
Second. Okay. Departmental income to be announced, vacant properties registry from $0 to $150,000, change of $150,000. Begin implementing section 2-6402 for vacant building registration fees to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit.
Make motion?
Any opposed?
I don't have these. Okay, go ahead.
6-3, I'm committed.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 9.
Make motion?
Second. Mayor, contracted services, $18,500 to $5,000, a negative $13,500. Projection based on a 3-year average to reduce tax levy.
Motion to
Motion
commit?
to commit. Second. Any opposed? Committed. Motion to introduce ordinance number 10.
Make motion?
Second. Budget salaries, $90,000 to $100,000, a $10,000 change, additional salary to cover purchasing duties to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Second. Any opposed? Committed. Motion to introduce ordinance number 11.
Motion?
Second, purchasing salaries, $43,000 to $0, a negative $43,000 change. Eliminating position due to county agreement and combining remainder of duties with budget director to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit.
I'm going to be a no vote on this, and I just want to give the explanation is that in talking with the county has hasn't approved anything yet with the city. The last thing that we did was we passed an agreement to the county. The county has not stated that they would be taking over our purchasing department, so with this amendment, we wouldn't have a purchasing department left inside the city.
Okay, do you wanna take a vote then?
Can we have your votes, please?
You know what?
I'm not gonna do a no vote, I just wanted for clarification.
Okay. So, no opposed? Any opposed? Commit. introducing ordinance number 12.
Motion.
Second, a motion, second, purchasing office equipment, $150 to zero, negative $150 change, eliminating position due to county agreement and combining remainder of duties with budget director to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit, second. Any opposed? Commit. Ordinance introducing number 13.
Make motion.
Second, purchasing office supplies, $150 to zero, negative $150 change, eliminating position due to county agreement and combining remainder of duties with budget director to reduce tax levy.
Commit. Motion to commit.
Second, any opposed? Commit. Ordinance, a motion to introduce ordinance number 14.
Motion.
Second, purchasing postage, $1,000 to zero, negative $1,000, eliminating position due to county agreement and combining remainder of duties with budget director to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit.
Motion.
Second, any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 15. Second, purchasing education, $200 to $0, negative $200 change, eliminating position due to county agreement and combining remainder of duties with budget director to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Second, any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 16.
Motion.
Second, thank you, purchasing contracted services, $1,500 to zero, negative $1,500 change, eliminating position due to county agreement and combining remainder of duties with budget director to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 17, purchasing, we have a second? Yep. Purchasing Social Security, $3,290 to zero, a negative $3,290 change, eliminating position due to county agreement and combining remainder of duties with budget director to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 18.
Motion.
Second, Corporation Council printing $10,000 to $1,000, a negative $9,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy.
Motion
to commit. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 19.
Motion.
Second, Corporation Council contracted services, $180,000 to $160,000, a negative $20,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 20.
Motion.
Second, engineering, education, and training, $5,000 to zero, a negative $5,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit.
Motion.
Opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 21.
Motion.
Second, engineering, contracted services, $90,000 to $75,000, a negative $15,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 22. DPW, yep, thank you. Second, DPW Central Garage, other equipment, $40,000 to $35,000, a negative $5,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 24.
Motion.
We have a second. Public Safety Commissioner, salary $65,000 to $0, negative $65,000 change, eliminating due to vacancy and salary being below average for a professional in the field to reduce the tax levy. Motion to commit. Opposed? Commit. A motion to introduce ordinance number 25.
Motion.
Second, Public Safety Commissioner, FICA, $4,973 to $0, negative $4,973, eliminating due to vacancy and salary being below average for professional in the field to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 26.
Motion.
We got a motion and a second. Police administration salaries, $449,000, $891 to $386,113, a negative $63,778. Removing vacant police relations position to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 28. Motion. Second, Police Administrative Division repairs $220,000 to $175,000, a negative $45,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce the tax levy. Motion to commit. Opposed? Commit.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Are there some, I'm going by the whole sheet I got the other day, are there some
Yeah,
that were
we pulled
taken
a
out of
few.
here? You pulled a few, okay, I'm just following, okay,
You got
thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
23 to go.
Yeah. A motion to introduce ordinance number 30.
Motion.
Second, Police Uniform Division overtime pay, $200,000 to $150,000, a negative $50,000 change. Use ARPA to fund remainder $50,000 for overtime pay to reduce tax levy.
Make a motion to amend.
Motion to amend.
Change 150,000 to say $0, and strike. Well, yeah. Well, we have to do them individually, right?
I thought we weren't amending anything.
Yeah,
This
I thought
is the
we were
last
just
one.
gonna commit it.
We're good.
Let's
Okay, we'll just
put
commit
it.
it.
Motion
Yep.
to commit. Anyone opposed? Okay, commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 31. We got a motion and a second. Police Uniform Division, night differential, $160,000 to $150,000, a negative $10,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 33. We have a motion and a second. Police Criminal Investigation Division, night differential, $160,000 to $150,000, a negative $10,000 change based on expenses from the 3-year average to reduce the tax levy. Motion to commit. Opposed? We got a second. We got opposed. Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 34. Second. City Court Electric Service, $75,000 to $65,000, a negative $10,000 change. Motion to commit. A second. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 35. We got a motion and a second. Okay, City Court contracted services, $175,000 to $160,000, a negative $15,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Second. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 36. Second, City Court repairs $25,000 to $20,000, a negative $5,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Second. Any opposed? Commit. A motion to introduce ordinance number 37. Second, Fire Administration, other equipment, $5,000 to $0, a negative $5,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Second. Any opposed? Commit. Okay, motion to introduce ordinance number 39. Fire prevention replacement overtime, $20,000 to $15,000, a negative $5,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Opposed? A second. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 40.
Motion.
Second, fire prevention, computer software, $15,000 to $5,000, a negative $10,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit.
Motion.
We have a second. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 41.
Motion.
Second, fire training, contracted services, $70,000 to $60,000, a negative $10,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Second, any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 42.
Motion.
Second, fire training, contracted food service, $80,000 to $50,000, a negative $30,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy.
Motion.
Motion to commit.
I just want to make a note on this one, that if they change the, they gotta change the revenue as well, so that has to be, can you just make a note that that has to be done as well? Thank you.
Duly noted.
So
Motion to
that
commit.
technically will be crossed out.
A second. Any opposed? Commit. Ordinance, a motion to introduce ordinance number 44. Second, fire communication, other equipment, radios, $45,000 to $10,000, a negative $35,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. A motion to commit. Second, opposed, commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 45.
Motion.
Second, fire mechanic, other equipment, $10,000 to $5,000, a negative $5,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. We have a second. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 46.
Motion.
Second, fire EMT, other equipment, $75,000 to $60,000, a negative $15,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Second, opposed, commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 47.
Motion.
Second, fire EMT, education and training, $75,000 to $43,000, a negative $32,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Second, any opposed? Commit. A motion to introduce ordinance number 48.
Motion.
Second, fire EMT, contracted EMT billing, $160,000 to $150,000, a negative $10,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy.
Motion.
Motion to commit. Second, opposed, commit. Okay. Motion to introduce ordinance number 49.
Motion.
Second, DPW garage repairs, $25,000 to $20,000, a negative $5,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce tax levy.
Motion.
Motion to commit. Second, opposed. Any opposed? Commit. A motion to introduce ordinance number 51.
Motion.
Second, parks maintenance, fuel, $55,000 to $50,000, a negative $5,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce the tax levy. Motion to commit. Opposed? We got any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 52. We have a motion. We have a second. Infrastructure, contractual stormwater, $350,000 to $250,000, a negative $100,000 change. The line was amended last year to be increased by $100,000 and ultimately was over budgeted and not utilized. Return to correct projection of $250,000 to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. We have a second. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 53. Second. Infrastructure repairs, $15,000 to $500, a negative $14,500 change based on expenses from a 3-year average to reduce the tax levy. Motion to commit. Second. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 54. Second. Ski chalet contracted services, $100,000 to $10,000, a negative $90,000 change based on expenses from a 3-year average. Contract remainder of desired services out to bid before city takes on financial obligation and responsibility for services to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Second. Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 56. We have a motion, a second. Fire employment benefits, medical, $4,908,461 to $4,685,349, a negative $223,112. Expecting only a 5% increase based on the averages from prior years, and being that our current year was projected extra high at a 20.63% tax increase to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Second. Opposed? Any opposed? Commit. Motion to introduce ordinance number 57. We have a motion? A second. Police employment benefits, medical, $4,884,133 to $4,662,127, a negative $222,006 change. Expecting only a 5% increase based on the averages from prior years, and being that our current year was projected extra high at a 20.63% increase to reduce tax levy. Motion to commit. Second. Any opposed?
Mr. President, if I can just add one thing for.
Yes.
If everything we did tonight, I know we have amendments to make together. The numbers listed here equals about $2.1 million, which is about 7% in the taxes. So,
Mr. President,
letting people know. Thank you.
may I have the floor?
Yes.
Thank you. Can you request that the comptroller's office give us what the tax levy would be after each of these amendments are introduced with the elimination of the to-be-determined accounts? Because I think that needs to be said. You're going to get that, Judge?
I had the city clerk deliver to the comptroller all of the amendments so that he could start computing what the tax would look like on the night of the 20th. It'll give him plenty of time to look at all of that. And so there is no harm in any councilman, if you like, reminding him that that's an awful lot of amendments and what the projection will be.
Judge, and with that said, I think tomorrow, I'm holding off on any amendments that we propose. I'll introduce them at some point in time, but I really think that us as a council needs to know where we are with this tax levy before we introduce anything, to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in a financial position that really is detrimental moving forward. With that said, I'm going to ask the council, and obviously it doesn't have to be tonight, it could be tomorrow in a more formal setting with everybody there, but my suggestion would be to call another committee meeting in between now and the 20th, and I would also ask the council call for a special council meeting on the 19th. That way, all final amendments could be discussed. That way, on the 20th, We're not asking the comptroller's office to make those amendments, and at our formal meeting on the 20th, knowing when the deadline's there, that we have those amendments to be introduced in that formal setting, not asking for the tax cap to be calculated at that meeting. So my suggestion again would be, and we could do this tomorrow, have a special meeting from now until then, and then have a special meeting on the 19th, get all those amendments in, give the comptroller's office enough time to calculate those, and then on the 20th at our formal meeting.
Schedule that tomorrow.
Pass that, yep. But just as a heads up to everybody, so everybody's not confused on moving forward.
Just one last thing.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
I asked for a committee meeting in between the 19th and the 20th, because yes, all those amendments were introduced, but we still haven't had time to discuss them, seeing how tonight was the first time that they were introduced. So I think from now, I don't know when I'm gonna put them in, Jack. I kinda wanna get the tax calculation and see what you guys can actually do with the revenues. I have mine, and I'll introduce them. It's not that I'm, ours or whoever. I haven't discussed it with you. I haven't discussed it with any other council member, what we're gonna do. But I think we need a committee meeting in between now and then, introduce that at the 19th meeting, and then be ready for the 20th to actually vote on that.
One last thing, I just want to thank Melissa and Drew. I think sometimes we don't realize the job that they do and the amount of time that they put in. Like on a day like today, they're here before 9 o'clock, and it's a little bit past 8. They're putting 11, 12-hour days in sometimes, and I think sometimes we may take it for granted. So I just want to say thank you. A motion to adjourn?
Second.